Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. I want to wish all my subscribers, all my viewers and my supporters a happy Easter 2021, and I hope that you can celebrate with your family, not like we here in Germany. For most of us here, depending on where your family lives and in how many households, I will explain a little bit later. It is once again the second time in a row impossible to celebrate Easter for Germans this year. And full disclosure here, 2020, I always have my suspicions, but somehow I didn't think last year, back in 2020, that in 1 year Easter would still have to take place under the pretty much same circumstances as last year. So some little details might have changed. Sure, there are thousands of rules, some might have changed, but by and large it is still the very same, which means that yes, of course, you can celebrate Easter as long as you stay at home and stay with people that live in your household anyway. And yes, you can have guests, a small number of guests from one more household, from one additional household. But that doesn't really help most families in Germany because if you have more than one child and they study or work in other cities or even just at the other side of town or something, then already you cannot be together at the same time. And when you include grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins into the equation, then of course it gets absolutely impossible. And then you can play a lottery game like who is allowed to visit who or something like that. Or you can take turns or shifts like from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. The daughter can visit. And then from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. the son can visit the parents. Something crazy like that. So this is of course no way to celebrate the highest festival of Christendom, a very important family holiday in Germany. In other words, the state has made it once again impossible to celebrate our Christian holidays. It was last Easter, it was Christmas 2020, and it was also, and it is right now, Easter 2021. And of course the same goes for all the smaller festivals that fall in between. By and large, we have, with a little bit of aberration here and there, but we have continuous lockdowns and contact bans for over a year in Germany now. So I have to say, the biggest pessimists were proven right. So the people who said, oh, this will last forever, or this will last at least until the federal election in autumn 2021, yes, those people were correct. There was never a pause. And last summer a little bit, as I said, but to no effect. So basically 1 year of continuous lockdown. So please let me know in the comments down below how it is where you live and how it is in your country. I really hope it is better than in Germany, but odds are that it is better, because how could it be much worse than here in Germany? Maybe when I read your stories, it puts me in a little bit of a better mood. I really hope that you can celebrate this holiday in a proper way. So first, let me explain what Germans normally do on Easter. Catholics often celebrate a service that is called Osternacht, or Easter night. And that starts on Easter Sunday very, very early in the morning, between 4 and 5 a.m. I think, and it's still dark outside, of course. And then there is an Easter fire. From this fire, an Easter candle is lit. And from that candle, then all the candles that are held by members of the congregation are individually lit. And then the lights are also lit in the church, and it makes some quite a show, I would say, has an emotional impact on many people. And then when you leave the church again, it's a little bit of a longer service for Catholic standards, so maybe 1.5 hours or something like that. And then the sun has risen and it is bright outside. So that is quite nice. And then, of course, when you have small children, there is this not very Christian, but nevertheless, this custom of searching for Easter eggs, of course, in the garden or in a park or somewhere. And of course, the whole family comes together and you have a big lunch and dinner with traditional food, sweet bread, normally done from yeast dough, called Osterbrot or Hefezopf or something like that. Also cakes in the shape of a lamb, because, yeah, well, that is, of course, a symbol for the sacrifice of Christ. That is very usual. And also decorating wells is very important with artistically colored eggs and evergreen branches. Yes, so you can imagine that under the current regime, all this stuff is impossible, absolutely impossible to pull off if you are a family or if you have a family that lives far apart or just in different households. They can all live in the same city as long as they're in different households. All this stuff doesn't work. And yeah, of course, if you're really good friends with all of your neighbors and you're super sure of that, then you can risk it maybe. But if just one of your neighbors feels bad about you or doesn't like you or something, then odds are, or there is a chance that they might call the authorities on you. And this is what happens very often right now in Germany. Over the last year, I heard so many stories where people called the authorities on their neighbors just because they had a good time. And that is quite sad. It is very reminiscent of some other regimes we had in our German history. And that's very bad. So most people are not best friends with all of their neighbors. So most people can't really risk that. And the fines you will have to pay are really, really high. This will hurt you financially. So most people don't risk it. But of course, we know that there is once again selective enforcement of rules. So for Christians and for Germans, these rules are enforced. For other groups, not so much. And there are hundreds and hundreds of reports about that. I don't even discuss about that. It is very clear what is going on when they are called to these families and they just shrug their shoulders and turn around and say, we didn't see anything. They don't open a case. They don't even write it down. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to be called bigots or have to justify their actions in front of some politician or some diversity manager or something like that. And that is why they don't even bother checking on these people. But it is open season on Germans and on Christians, and that is why many people don't even bother, and many people tell their families that this year they will take a pass and maybe next year we can celebrate again. That's what most people are saying. But there are some people who try to evade those rules and they find a very intelligent way around it. And that is, I told you many times when it was about German customs and culture, that an integral part of a Sunday visit to your parents or your grandparents, for example, is not only sitting for long hours around a table and discussing everything under the sun. No, it's also taking a walk. And that's not just 10 minutes, that can be up to 2 hours. So a long walk, well, depending on your preference and your health and your age, but generally rather long walks, and the discussion and the conversation continues then while you're walking. It's just more healthy this way than sitting all the time. And we sit a lot, to be fair. So many people thought, let's just have a giant Easter hike or an Easter walk and the family can be together in this way. But I have seen for myself, and I have heard a lot of stories about law enforcement and the authorities targeting these groups and breaking them up, saying you don't keep your distance, you shouldn't be talking to each other and stuff like that. I have seen patrols in my neighborhood, and many friends and colleagues have told me the same thing already on Friday and Saturday. They are patrolling even villages and small towns, and when they see groups of people talking, they will break them up. They will go in there and say, disperse, you're not allowed to do that, don't talk to each other, keep your distance, put your mask on, and stuff like that. So even this creative and healthy way to still have a family meeting is discouraged and sometimes even forbidden by the authorities in Germany right now. You're not even allowed to take a walk together anymore in larger groups. Only pairs of two, or only two different households or something like that, even in public now. Also, I've heard stories from Berlin where young people, of course, young people want to socialize. What do you think? And they have these illegal parties. Well, it's just a get-together. It's not really a party. They're just standing around on a square and they talk. That's all they do. They're not listening to loud music or something. They're just talking. They're young people. It's basically what they do during their lunch break at school. They're standing in the yard and they talk. Yeah, that's what they do. And what do you think the authorities did? They went after them and they said, you can't do that. Absolutely crazy. So in a way, it is actually worse than last year, and especially after 1 year of clear data that shows us that there is no great risk for young, healthy people at least. This is absolutely unjustified. Anyway, I don't want to drag this out. I don't want to repeat too much. I just wanted to let you know how it is this year for Christians and for Germans in general to celebrate, or actually not celebrate, Easter in the year 2021 under our current regime and with our glorious leader at the top. Once again, let me know how it is in your country or in your city. So I hope that for most of you guys, it is better. It is allowed to celebrate at least in some form. Let me know in the comments down below. Servus, Kameraden.